What's going on, everyone? I am indeed Omega Luke, and I am your favourite podcaster's favourite podcast. And I'm here doing a bit of YouTube. Why not? So, I originally was planning on doing a reaction video to my initial reactions of All Elite Wrestling. That is right, we got the news, the breaking news at midnight in America on New Year's Day, that All Elite Wrestling is a thing. Cody Rhodes, the Bucks, and by the looks of it, Hangman Page have big plans for their own brand, their own independent wrestling company. And originally I said a tweet that I would create a video with my reactions, and I did create a video. However, as soon as I created that video, more news came out and it changed my opinion completely. So I thought, why waste the video and send it out when I knew that it was irrelevant anymore? So I let it mull over for a couple of days, and I sort of changed my mind a few more times, and then I watched Wrestle Kingdom, and it has now changed my opinion once again. So I think this is the perfect time to ask some questions about All Elite Wrestling, whether we will see certain people at All Elite Wrestling, and what implications does Wrestle Kingdom 13 have on All Elite Wrestling. So if you're interested, drop a subscribe, drop a like. I hope you enjoy this reaction video, because I hope I'm doing plenty of more in the future as well. So stick around. So initially we had, of course, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes and Hangman Page in the original video on being the Elite. And by the looks of it, there were no signs of Kenny Omega or Marty Scurll. Now, to me, Marty Scurll is a shoo-in to be involved in All Elite Wrestling, and I think that he will bring Villain Enterprises along with him. We could see Brody King and PCO turn up as well at All Elite Wrestling, which I think would be pretty cool, to have Villain Enterprises as sort of a faction involved in All Elite Wrestling within the Elite. So that would be pretty cool. But what about Kenny Omega? Now, originally, I thought we would have an announcement very soon after that Kenny Omega would be the first person to join All Elite Wrestling. That never happened. That never came. We still do not know what is happening with the cleaner, Kenny Omega. So, what do I think will happen with Kenny Omega? Now, I just watched Wrestle Kingdom about an hour ago. Spoiler alert coming along. The IWGP Heavyweight Champion is no longer Kenny Omega. Tanahashi, the Ace, has reclaimed his title at Wrestle Kingdom 13 in probably the best match of the night. I was slightly surprised with the victory for the Ace. However, I was happy because it was a great match, and I'm already wondering what number Kenny Omega will be in the Royal Rumble. No. Do I think Kenny Omega will be in All Elite Wrestling? If you had to put a gun straight to my head right now, I think he will be involved in All Elite Wrestling. We had plenty of speculation just an hour before Wrestle Kingdom began that indeed WWE has offered Kenny Omega a huge lucrative deal with packs of an esports contract as well, so he can carry on his Street Fighter. I don't know the legitimacy of that exactly, but plenty of news sources, wrestling news sources, was posting it online and on Twitter. My personal opinion of it was that it was just too much of a coincidence that 1 hour before Wrestle Kingdom and 1 hour before the event that Kenny Omega headlines Wrestle Kingdom with the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, that we will see Kenny Omega signing for WWE. For me, the timing was just off completely. However, that did throw a spanner in the works when he indeed lost that title belt. So, yes, WWE speculatives could suggest that that is a complete sign that we will see Kenny Omega joining WWE. However, I don't think so. And I'm going to tell you why. So for me, I've been a fan of Kenny Omega for a while now. And one thing that I've picked up on Kenny Omega more than anything is his love for Japan. He moved out there, I don't know, exactly when he moved out, but that he did indeed move out there after his career in the WWE seemed to fail, and he joined the likes of DDT wrestling in Japan, and eventually found his way into the New Japan roster as well, where we know and love him right now. Now, personally, I love him in New Japan, and by the looks of it, he loves New Japan as well. He soaks up the culture, he knows the language very fluently, and of course he has some incredible friends there where he lives in Japan. So the biggest risk would be to move to the WWE and ruin all of this. He is the biggest star outside of the WWE. Arguably, he is the biggest star in wrestling right now because of the incredible year to 18 months to 2 years that he has had following the insurgence of New Japan wrestling right now. The spotlight is indeed on Kenny Omega constantly, and we are seeing a different side of Kenny Omega through being the elite and how much fun he's having with the Bucks, with Cody Rhodes and Hangman Page, Chase Owens, all of those characters we see on being the elite. We are seeing Kenny Omega interact with them. We are seeing him interact with Chris Jericho and the whole crew situation. So why would he throw that all away for WWE? Well, simple. Money. Money talks at the end of the day. We all know that if someone offered you 5 times as much as your annual salary to move jobs for a different job, you would be very tempted. And don't say you wouldn't be, because the money talks at the end of the day. You can live a lot better life, a lot more secure. However, is Kenny Omega really a money grabber? To me, when I see Kenny Omega interacting and becoming a big part of being the elite, the whole situation at All In, with the build up to the cruise, with being attacked by Jericho, he loves the creative side of wrestling, and you can see that. He loves the long-term storylines of New Japan. So, when you go to WWE, we've seen in the past, we are not getting that from WWE necessarily. Whether Kenny Omega would be opposed to having a lot less creative control, we've just seen his entrance for Wrestle Kingdom coming out in that spectacular outfit. We've seen him come out as the Terminator before for certain events. Whether he can adjust to not having as much creative control, not having as much brutal matches, not having as much time in the ring, and being told a lot more what to say when you have a microphone to your mouth. If Kenny Omega can deal with that, as well as adjusting to going back to America and becoming part of the WWE, learning the WWE way, then fair play, money talks, and if you can do all that, then we'll see you at the Royal Rumble, Kenny Omega. However, personally, I don't think we will see Kenny Omega at the Royal Rumble. I think we will see Kenny Omega exactly where he has been for the last few years, in the New Japan roster, as well as All Elite Wrestling. And I'm going to talk more about the start of All Elite Wrestling once I finish my point on Kenny Omega. So my last point of Kenny Omega is I don't necessarily think we will see Kenny Omega on All Elite Wrestling the whole time. I do believe we will continue to see Kenny sticking around the New Japan as well as All Elite Wrestling. We've just seen Cody Rhodes drop the IWGP US title belt in very weird fashion, a sort of fuck you, get out of here from Juice Robinson, putting the Pulp Friction on him twice with a delayed pinfall victory. We just seen Matt Jackson take the pin in the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team match where Evil and Sanada picked up the belts. Great night for LIJ, by the way. So, these guys was almost like a goodbye to Japan. Now, after I watched the main event, I anticipated the Tanahashi victory, and I thought I'd watch carefully. And if you watch that carefully back, that to me was not a goodbye from Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega has been a staple in New Japan for the last couple years as part of this huge growth that New Japan has had through the Western audience, people like me tuning in. Kenny Omega was the reason why I got into wrestling again, along with Okada. Big shout out to Okada. To me, he deserved a bigger goodbye than any of those guys. They got a sort of goodbye. Whether it be a good one or a bad one, to me, it looked like the Bucks were saying goodbye for now. Kenny Omega, to me, did not look that way. If I'm honest, I think that New Japan are playing right into your hands and feeding you, teasing you that Kenny Omega is gone by putting the belt on Tanahashi, when actually all they are doing is giving Tanahashi a crowning moment as a superstar that has really done wonders for their company. He has done incredible things for the last 10 years. He was there when no one was watching, and he built that company back up to what it is now. He is probably the most important person on that roster as to why New Japan is still around and is as big as what it is now. Yes, Kenny Omega and Okada put a huge spotlight and brought eyes to the product, but there would be no product if it wasn't for the ace, the air guitar playing Tanahashi. Tanahashi's coming to the end of his career now. We all know that. He's picking up more and more injuries. He won a very grueling G1 where he performed very well. If you had to put a gun to my head, once again, stop putting guns to people's heads, but that was a thank you to Hiroshi Tanahashi, a last run for Hiroshi Tanahashi with the belt which is synonymous with him. That could be the last time that we see Hiroshi Tanahashi at a Wrestle Kingdom main event, and the last time we see him win the IWGP heavyweight belt. I don't know how long he will hold it. I don't know who will take it off him, whether that be Jay White, by the looks of it, who is going to be the next person in line for that belt, or whether we will see someone like Okada, someone like Kenny Omega come back, maybe even Naito, and take the belt off Hiroshi Tanahashi. But by no means do I think this is the last we see of Kenny Omega. So how do I think this All Elite Wrestling will play out? Good question, Luke. That All Elite Wrestling has been announced now because we won't see it for a while. Now hear me out. All In was announced round about this time last year. We didn't see All In until September. There was plenty of planning that had to be done. They had to find a venue which apparently changed twice. They had to promote it as much as they could. They did countless promotions on podcasts, on websites, and thankfully you guys bought those tickets and made it happen. You made All In a massive success, which is why we are seeing this Double or Nothing, this All Elite Wrestling now. So that's on you guys. Well done for that. But personally, I don't think we will see this long gone. And I had a question. I've had a few questions. One of the questions was, what do you think will happen to WrestleMania weekend? I don't think this affects WrestleMania weekend at all. We already have a New Japan show and a Ring of Honor show that weekend. We already have the NXT moved to Friday night, so the Hall of Fame is on the Saturday night. We already have WrestleMania, of course we do, as well as the countless amount of indie promotions which are counting on WrestleMania weekend being a big weekend for them. We see this every year. But Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks aren't stupid. We know that. Hangman Page, I don't know. But Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks aren't stupid, and I don't think they want to play with fire just yet. Why make themselves humiliated? Which was another question. How can they not make themselves humiliated? To me, you don't want to be humiliated. You don't go up against WWE directly yet. You grow your audience slowly. You build to what you want to be as a company. And if you ask me, how do you build to be a company like that? You do exactly what you did with All In. You plan it properly. So are we going to have an All In 2? Maybe. If I had to make a decision right here, right now, All In 2 is the start of All Elite Wrestling. Now, yes, that could be another 9 months away. We don't know exactly when they are planning on doing All Elite 2. But if it took that long to plan All In 1, why would it be quicker to plan out a whole company, create a roster of talent which are going to be there for multiple shows, not just one date, to get venues down for different places around the world. Maybe they're just going to tour America, but even then, to get different places booked around America, to tour America, to get all those dates booked, to get all that talent available, to get everything that you need, which you probably won't even think of everything in for your company, your new wrestling company. Why would that be quicker than one single event at All In? Yes, what they did at All In was huge and massive because they thought it could be the only time. Fair enough. But this isn't the only time. Now they've gone double or nothing. Pun intended. Let's see what they can do with a whole company. If you had to ask me right now, we are not seeing All Elite Wrestling for a very long time. Maybe a couple shows on the Fight Network, but maybe if they have their own network, if they have their own TV deal, which I doubt, I think it will be a network show. I think we will not see that until September time, past the summer, where All In 2 was get G1 out of the way. They don't want to fight against G1. G1's too big. After the G1 we just had, there's no way they want to go up against that. Now, if you had to ask me right now, July's too soon. September, why not? All In 2, my prediction, will be the start of All Elite Wrestling. So who is involved? We know that there's going to be the Young Bucks. We know that there's going to be a Cody Rhodes, and we know there's going to be a Hangman Page. Will they be wrestling themselves? I think they would be silly not to. They are all big draws. Now, even Hangman Page is a big draw. We've seen some incredible matches of him this year. It's a bit of a breakout year. Marty Scurll, I've already said I would think we would see him and Villain Enterprises take the feud. Kenny Omega, I've already addressed. I think we will also see him. So who else are we going to see at All Elite Wrestling? Now, by the sounds of it, we already have a couple of signings. One off the top of my head was Britt Baker, a very talented women's wrestler. Girlfriend, of course, to Adam Cole, Bebe. So that's a good signing. But who else will we see? Will we see the people from All In, the likes of Jordan Grace, who I'd love to see there, the likes of Pentagon, who I'd also very much like to see? Will we see someone like Kazuchika Okada at All Elite Wrestling? Possibly. That's all I can give you right now. New Japan, we don't know the relationship with All Elite Wrestling, whether it will be a friendly one or not. You'd like to think that there would be, because they're going to elevate each other, definitely. So whether we see the New Japan roster available to Cody Rhodes and the Bucks and Hangman Page, that still seems to be a mystery, but hopefully we will. Will we see the likes of Ring of Honor guys go to there? Yes, because we already have Marty Scurll, of course. So we already know the Young Bucks are very friendly with SCU from being the Elite. We know that the Briscoes work very well with the Young Bucks, and what a start-off match and start-off rivalry that could be, the Briscoes versus the Young Bucks. I would definitely pay for a streaming service just to see that one more time. But what about current WWE talent? And I've had a few questions come through, my good friend Nev being one of them. Will we see the likes of the Revival at All Elite Wrestling? We know that the Revival and the Young Bucks want this match to happen, and we know that the Revival are being misused. That is an understatement. They are an incredible tag team. They dominated NXT, and they have done nothing at WWE's main roster of Raw to note. So how many of these WWE talents will we see? My prediction is, due to contract statuses, we could see the likes of the Revival if they manage to get out of their contracts. We could see Zack Ryder. However, he is very happy and secure in a job. So you have to take those things in consideration as well. But other people being misused, you know I'd love to see an Andrade Cien Almas turn up there. Of course I would. What a stupid thing to ask me. But other people who I would like to see over there, if Shinsuke Nakamura is still unhappy, Shinsuke Nakamura would be the one person I'd be signing straight up, right out of the bat, as soon as his contract is up. Hello, Shinsuke. There was also some news reports of AJ Styles' contract coming to an end and him being very unhappy and possibly returning to New Japan, with the likes of All Elite Wrestling also being an option for him. And yes, we know that the owner of All Elite Wrestling is very rich and could probably match AJ Styles' wage and give him more of a secure job than he would going back to the Indies. So it is a possibility that he could go to All Elite Wrestling. However, when you see the 365 days of AJ Styles, two things became very apparent to me. One is his love of being finally good enough to be in the WWE. He was WWE champion and he made an absolute meal of it, and fair play to him because he was incredible champion. Incredible fighting champion, unlike that guy Brock Lesnar. One thing we were made aware of is AJ Styles' body and his injuries, to be exact, and how his body continues to ache day after day, and he gets up every day and wrestles one more time in this very grueling WWE schedule, which, you know, everyone is aware of. So a positive for AJ Styles leaving and going to AEW would be that he would be on less of a schedule, of course. A negative is that AEW is just simply not WWE. So, can you call AJ Styles a possibility? Of course you can. You can call anyone a possibility. But whether they actually happen, there's no way that you can just say yes. There's no way that these news reports can just come out and just say, oh, they're going to sign for All Elite Wrestling. Of course they are. Because you don't know how that wrestler really feels until they officially come out and say. We can speculate all you like. I love speculating. I'm a fantasy booker. Of course I do. Of course I'd love to see all these names. Andrade Cien Almas, please come to All Elite Wrestling. What about the GOAT of wrestling, Chris Jericho? We've just seen him drop the IWGP Intercontinental belt to Tetsuya Naito in a very good match, thanks to a Destino. But we know as well that Chris Jericho is having an absolute blast working with the Young Bucks, working with Cody Rhodes. We've seen it on the cruise. He is having a lot of fun. They've been on his podcast 3 times, I think, this year already, because he is having so much fun being an independent freelance wrestler, doing what he wants when he wants. However, we know he has some sort of legend contract with WWE, as we wouldn't have seen him back at the Greatest Royal Rumble in between New Japan appearances. So what do I think will happen to Chris Jericho? Will he go back to WWE? Will he go to All Elite Wrestling? Now, if you had to make an answer, I would say I'd love to see All Elite Wrestling pull out a Chris Jericho. Of course I would. However, whether that is possible, being that All Elite Wrestling looks like it will be featured a lot in America, suggests to me that we won't see Chris Jericho at All Elite Wrestling. But I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to end this video on that note. And if you have any more questions about All Elite Wrestling, or maybe Wrestle Kingdom 13, then make sure you leave them down in the comments while you subscribe and leave a like, or fire them at me on Twitter at Omega_Luke. And if you haven't already, go to prowrestlingtees.com/Omega Luke podcast, where you can find my brand new King of Fantasy Booking t-shirt. You all seem to love the design, so why not take advantage of the current coupon deal, Wrestle Kingdom, to get 20% off your next order. That is right, 20% you can save and get yourself an Omega Luke t-shirt with your Christmas money. So thank you everyone for watching this. Make sure you have subscribed. I have plenty of new episodes coming out, including some very good interviews on the podcast the likes of the NWA and former WWF and WWE Women's Champion Jazz. So make sure you check that out, as well as some incredible indie names, which I'm not going to name right now, just in case I jinx it. But thank you, everyone. Goodbye and good night. Bang.